I'd like to first go in just to a little bit. I'm the collections manager at the University of Missouri. And I'd just like to go in a little bit about the history of the museum at the university. C.B. Riley was the first state entomologist of Missouri, and he served as lecturer in entomology in the late 1800s. And he essentially started the collections at the university. This predates the department itself. And for several years, we just had some small collections at the university. Unfortunately, Riley's disappeared. It must have gone with him to Washington. But the museum basically took off in the 1940s when Dr. George Bach donated 300,000 beetle specimens, and E.P. Miners also donated 35,000 specimens. And that really created the core of the modern day collection that we have now. Dr. Enns curated that collection when it was donated, and in 1953 he was officially appointed the director of the museum and served until his retirement 25 years later. At that time, Dr. Yankee became the museum director, and during his tenure, they renamed the museum for Dr. Enns for all his work in building up the museum. When Dr. Yankee stepped down as director, Dr. Robert Sykes took over the directorship, and he is the director now. We do have some other significant acquisitions and parts of the museum. We have the Holliger scale insects of Holliger. We had a couple significant donations of Lepidoptera during that time. Paul Berry also donated several thousand specimens, but the most significant donation that we was in the late 1990s when the Missouri Department of Conservation donated almost 4.5 million specimens of insects and other invertebrates they had collected over a 30-year period out of Missouri rivers and streams. And that established us as the state repository for any type of research being done in Missouri. So we received collections from MDC, from the Missouri Department of Conservation, Fish and Wildlife. Anybody who's doing research in the state will very often deposit their holdings or the results of the research with us. We are very strong in these particular areas, especially Coleoptera and Hemiptera. Hemiptera is the area that Dr. Yankee worked in and what Dr. Sykes is working in right now. Dr. Yankee on the terrestrial aspect and Bob on the aquatic Hemiptera. We do have insects from all over the world, but we are especially strong in the Missouri Ozark Plateau, which is found in the southern half of the state. We also are fairly strong in Southeast Asia, where Dr. Sykes is doing quite a bit of his work. The alcohol collection is located in the basement of the agriculture building in a nice tight little room. You can see by the size of the aisles there. We have 35 double-door safety cabinets in that room. The Benfels collection, which is what we call the large collection that was donated by the Missouri Department of Conservation, is located in 18 of those 35 cabinets. These cabinets hold approximately a maximum of 207 jars. And you can see with the MDC Benfels collection that they had quite a number of mayflies in that collection. Again, these are very accurate numbers. They knew exactly how many they collected. And when they gave them to us, they were in bulk containers. They had gone to the rivers, collected them, sorted out what they were, and then put them all back in the same jar. So we got an NSF and had to sort them back out. It was fun. That only took about 3 years. The jars are liter size and each hold about 30 vials. We use the cotton stopper method with these particular holdings simply because of there's just so many of them. It makes for a lot more ease of curating them. I thought I took that out. Anyway, another one of the cabinets is devoted to tie insects in trays such as this is part of Dr. Seitz's research that he's doing in Thailand. The rest of the general collection is housed in 25 standard vial cabinets that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. This is the breakdown of the specimens that we have in those. You can see there is a fair number of non-insects in those. Those are mostly spiders. That was one of the areas of emphasis that Dr. Enns had, so we have a good number of spiders. Also, we have about 3 of the safety cabinets full of the general collection insects housed the same way like Bento's collection was in the jars. The rest of the safety cabinets hold material that needs to be incorporated into the museum, other smaller projects that have been donated to the museum, plus the ever-present bulk samples that everybody has. The alcohol collection is not in a very good state of organization right now. We moved to this room about 10 years ago, and we really need, and there was a lot of miscellaneous stuff at the ends of the collection that need to be incorporated back into the collection, so that's on our to-do list. Our slide collection is up on the 3rd floor of the agriculture building, which is where the main collection, the pin collection is. We have a significant number of mites in the collection. Again, that's another area of emphasis of research that was Dr. Enns's. We also have a significant number of chironomic slides, both in boxes and in another separate storage facility that's in the main museum of an old Mountain Spring project that was done by the National Park Service. A lot of these repository projects that like National Park Service donates to us and such have to be kept separately from the main collection with their terms. As you can see in the cabinet, as I said, we've got 3 of them. There are 2 rows of slide boxes on each shelf. The cabinets for the main pin collection, you can see we have several different types of drawers. The majority of them are these 2-sided 24-drawer cabinets. The newer ones are the upright 24-drawer, and we have a total number of drawers of just under 3,500. Again, the breakdown, more Coleoptera than anything, followed by Hemiptera, the 2 really strengths of the museum. These are estimates of the number of specimens, or estimates, and we have approximately 1.2 million pin specimens in the collection. So for total, we estimate probably a little around 6 million specimens in the entire collection. We are currently updating the pin collection, where we are trying to get the most current names on collections. Much of our exotic material was, whether it was identified or not, was placed at the end of the family, so we are incorporating those into the family drawer. We have a separate cabinet of paper material, which we're also incorporating into the drawers. I estimate that we've got probably 75% of the families done in the pin collection in terms of updating them. We have almost 100 drawers of old names, and half of them are pin and half of them are organized in the paper specimens like this and are within the regular pin collection. We have 23 drawers of galls, half of which are stored kind of like a display like this, and the other half are envelopes and boxes. We have 19 boxes of fossils. Almost all of them are from a collection site in Utah. We also have at one end of the museum a display area for the general public to come in. We have tour groups come in. We estimate around 4,000 people every year come in to visit the museum. We also have open houses. We had 4 of them last year, many of them associated like things with homecoming and such. We do sponsor some workshops, usually in conjunction with the Department of Natural Resources or the Missouri Conservation Department. Presentations, the typical going out in schools and such, but we do try to to get the graduate students to do those types of things. We participate in many of the farm field days. That's a big thing in Missouri, being a land-grant university, and the university does own roughly 20 farms throughout the state. And we do have field days that we participate in. Media interaction, we are the #1 journalism school in the country. So we get a lot of media interaction, a lot of interviews, especially print media and television. The university does own its own television station, so we do that. And we also do some miscellaneous such other things as everybody else does. In fact, Monday when I get back, I will be preparing the insect identification portion for the state FFA test, which is next week. So we do a lot of outside work, loaning displays and such. In terms of databasing, we really have not begun any databasing. At the most, we are working on a link off of our website that will list the species that we have present in the museum, but we have not yet taken that step to database. Part of the problem is money. Part of the problem too is also personnel, since there's doctor sites and me working in the museum. So we figured the first priority is to get everything organized, and then once we get everything organized, we will be able to database. And of course, with this project, that will definitely help.